Welcome to this 8th video of faculty training program. In this video, I'll explain how you can engage your student with the tools which are already available there. Now the very first thing is you always need to back your instinct, your experience of engaging a class, and in this particular video I'm going to only focus on the tools which are available which you can use. So let's get back to the portal. Now you can see I have already got a presentation uploaded, and there are two students in my class because they have got this circular icon, and I am the only teacher or moderator in this class with this rectangular icon, and I want to engage the student. I do not want them to sit idle in the class. So what are the different tools? And one more important question is why this has become necessity. The reason is when you take a physical class, you would be able to see the expression of the students listening to you during your lecture, and therefore you adjust your method of teaching depending upon whether their student going to like this or not. And if you feel that students are getting your lecture and the expressions are good enough, then you continue with the same approach that you have. Now that thing is missing in online classes. So what you need to do is you have to take feedback regularly without wasting too much time, but at the same time recording the responses which are necessary. So let's take a look at a quote given by Benjamin Franklin. He said, from a student perspective, that tell me and I forget, teach me, I remember, and involve me and I learn. So the term here is involve, which I want to emphasize, and that is going to be the theme of this video. So the very first way to involve your student is to ask them to participate in a polling or a random quiz. Now this needs to be designed and incorporated in the PPT file that you are about to upload for your lecture, and this needs to be designed beforehand, because that way you can save a lot of time. Otherwise you will be losing a lot of time during the class. So I'll show you one example first. Let's take a look at this example. Now this is a very simple question. Squares are one-dimensional diagram, yes or no? Now this kind of quiz can be anywhere in your slide. It can be third number slide, or fourth number, or fifth number, depending upon what are your content. Now this is a question you have already got yes and no, and you want to get the response from the student. So student must have some way to give the response, and that option is given to the student using this polling technique by going to actions and click on start a poll. So if you click on start a poll, there are 6 set of options which are already given. Yes no option, true false, AB, ABC, and so on. In this case it seems that yes and no options are more appropriate. So all you have to do is click on this box yes and no, and once you'll do that, you'll find that you are waiting for the responses of 2 users, because there are only 2 users. The moderators are not going to be the part of it, or teachers. So only 2 students will get this yes no option, and you are waiting for the response. And so far 0 of them has participated in the polling, and all those 2 students will be listed here. If you have got 50 students, all of them will be listed here. And once a student go for polling, the name of that student will slide downward, and those students who have not participated in the polling yet, they will come at the top of this screen. And any response given by these users will be visible here as well. And similarly, the percentage of participation for these 2 options will also be shown here as well. So let me quickly go to this Rajiv Ranjan account and participate in the polling and see how does it look like on their screen. So I'll go to the student screen, and you can see right now Rajiv Ranjan is under you. That means this is the account of Rajiv Ranjan, and you'll be able to see that polling option that I threw a few minutes back. So if I'll select no as the answer, I'll click no, and then I'll go back to the teacher account. You can see that I have received 1 response for no, and one of the 2 participants has already participated, and I'm waiting for 1 more response. and this response is of Alok Jain because the response section in this region is blank, and that means now I can ask verbally through the microphone that Mr. Alok Jain, please go ahead and participate in polling. Why are you not participating? So this is more or like a passive form of participation, whereas students are only selecting. Now that needs to be true or not, that is up to them how serious they are, but still this gives you a way that whether a student is sitting in front of the screen or not. So if I'll go to the, and one more thing, if you notice here, you'll find that the student who has given the response, that has already slided into the lower side, and the student without a response is on the upper side. So you do not need to scroll through for 50 students and see who has given the response, who has not given the response. So let us say I'm going to Alok Jain account, and then I'll select no, come back to faculty account, and I can see this section has turned into done. Now once you see done here, that simply means all users have participated in the polling and there is no waiting responses. Now once you collect the responses from the user, you need to share the results as well of the polling. So you can simply click on publish polling results, and the same will be visible to the student as well on their portal as well. So let me quickly go to student account. You can see the student is able to see the result which were shared by the teacher. Now let me quickly go back to the faculty account again. So this is how you generally indulge a student into a polling. Now if you want to remove this polling result from your screen, you can click on clear all annotations and it will go away. Now let me again quickly go to start a poll and go to the next slide. Now in this slide, if you look at this option, in this case, if you want to start a poll, this option seems to be a suitable one. If you'll go to the next slide, you can also start a poll here, but this time you should go with option A, B and C only. In this case, if you are going to throw these four options, student will be confused. So please try to design your quiz with the same options which are available in the polling list. I can go to the next slide. And in this case, you can see I have got A, B, C and D, and these options are already there. I can go to the next slide, and you can see in this case I have got 5 different options and they are also there. So you can notice that this quiz has been designed by keeping these polling options in mind, and you are requested to do the same thing. Now if I'll go to the next slide, you can see that the question here is missing and answers are there, that there are 4 answers but questions are missing. So in this case, you can ask the question verbally and then you can throw these 4 options A, B, C, D. Now the student will be able to see these A, B, C, D on their portal, and now you can ask the question. For instance, what is the operating system that you are using on your laptop at this moment? So if a student is a Windows user, they can go ahead and select with any one of these 4. So the advantage of asking verbal question is that if a student is not listening, he won't be able to answer. And if one student is going to select this answer 9, that means he or she is not listening. Okay, because this is not an appropriate answer from any point of view. These are common Windows operating system which most of the people use, but this does not exist. So you can read the response from the list and point out who is that user who has selected this C, and then you can ask why he or she has given that response, because that is too odd to answer. And this happens generally when student does not answer the question, so they can do these kind of mistakes. Now if you want to conduct another polling, if you want to start another poll, you can go ahead and select that, go to the next slide. And in this slide, you can see that verbal question with manual options. So in this case, let us say you are explaining something to a student and you just want a quick feedback. So you do not want to write something on the slide. So what you can do is you can throw an option yes, no, and you can ask that did you got the point that I was mentioning or I was explaining so far. And if a student responses are inclined towards yes, more, that simply means the students are getting what you are teaching. Similarly, when you start a class, you can simply ask a question, are you able to listen my voice? And then you can go ahead and throw this yes no option. So a student will be picking that option there only. The other way is they can go ahead and they can click on this public chat area and they can enter their response as well. So if I'll close this down and click on this public chat, they can type here yes and you'll be able to see that, but that response cannot be summarized. So the better way is to go ahead and start a poll and throw yes no option, so that you will be able to see the summary how much percentage of student has opted yes and how many of them has opted no. And if a lot of students are saying no and few of them are saying yes, that means there are some problem with your end. So that's another way to keep your student engaged. So in between your presentation, you can keep asking these questions. Is it clear? Through yes and no, and collect the response. So student will be little active through this technique. Now if I'll go to next slide, there are other options as well. You can make a student presenter and you can ask him to do something on this slide. So this is the same technique which you generally opt when you go inside a class. You simply give your marker to some student and ask him or her to come to the board and write something. So this is the same thing, making a student presenter. So here is one example. Let us say that you have got a matching kind of question and you have to match from list 1 to list 2. So you can ask Mr. Raju to go ahead and draw the match. So you can click on the name of the Raju, you can make him presenter, and you can ask him verbally to go ahead and draw the match. So if I'll go to the student account, select the account of Mr. Raju, now I can see that I have got the right as a student. So I can select this and I can draw this as a match. I don't know whether this is correct or not. So if someone from electronics department is looking at this, please accept my apology for this wrong answer. I don't know whether it is correct or not, but you got the idea how does it work. So in this case, a student is not only clicking on the option, he is actually picking the right tool and then try to draw something and actively participating in your class. So this is another way to engage with your student. Now if I'll go back to the faculty account and I'll take the presenter right from him, I can now give the same right to Mr. Alok Jain and I can ask him to go ahead and give me the match for the fourth one. So this way a student keeps connected to the portal and they keep listening because they don't know when you are going to throw question to them, and do it randomly to make the student keep guessing. Now there is another way. I'm going to the next slide, and in this case you can see I have got 4 circles here, and all of these 4 circles has got name in terms of gear design. So that's not important for you as of now, but you can see for all of them I have already given name A, B, C and D. Now I can make some student a presenter and I can ask go ahead and pick the text tool and write the name of A. So I'll go to student account to show how does it look like on his side. And now I'm going to this browser to use the Alok Jain account, and now I have got this presenter tool. So I'll select text tool and he can write that this A is basically an addendum circle. So that's how it works. Now the teacher can give right to the other student as well, and he will be writing the name of the second circle and so on. So here you are asking them to write something, not pick something, which makes it a little difficult and which helps you to engage a student in a more better way. Now that is what my understanding. You can opt for another options depending upon the tools that you have seen so far. The last one that I want to explain is this one. I'll go to the teacher account and I'll take the presentership first. I'll go to the last slide, and now let us say I want to draw a PV diagram. So those who are from mechanical department will be able to understand what this is for an auto cycle. So I have already drawn an axis. I want some student to draw this and complete it for me. So I'll give Mr. Raju a presenter right, and I'll go back to the Raju account, and now Raju has got this right to draw something. So if he wants, he can draw this something like this, and let us say he is not done drawing this thing, he is drawn just only this. He still has to name this, so I can stop midway and I can ask another student to complete this diagram. So these are some techniques which can be used in order to engage the student in a more better way. Now using this technique you can opt for another option as well. That is up to you, and that is what makes you unique. So I hope that a student will be able to learn with these techniques in a much better way. In the next video I will explain how you can use your second device to teach your student with some manual tools such as whiteboard or pen or paper. So see you in next video.